the Parker Town Council meeting, the May 4th Parker Town Council meeting at 7 o'clock p.m. If y'all could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. All right, and I don't believe we have any updates from anyone here from the Parker Chamber or Downtown Business Alliance. We have two attendees. We have Brett Kopaz, which is a presenter for later on, and we have Pine Curve Pete, who is also logged in attendance. But I don't see anyone from the Parker Chamber or the Downtown Business Alliance, so we'll go ahead and skip those two items. All right, so council, for public comment, I don't believe that we've received anything, and if we had, it would have been forwarded off to you guys via email. So we will go ahead and move on to the next item, which is our consent agenda. Before you, council, our consent agenda items 5A through 5D. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and usually enacted with one motion and one vote, unless a council member asks to have something removed for further discussion. In the case of our consent agenda today, council member Pogue has a declared conflict of interest that disqualifies her from participating in any matters concerning residential metropolitan districts. So with that, council, we have a couple items on our consent agenda dealing with that. I would entertain a motion to remove agenda items D1 through D6 and agenda item D8 from the consent agenda.
They so moved.
We have a motion from Renee and a second from Josh. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. So council, I would entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, C, and D7.
So moved. Rivera.
Second, Debbie.
We have a motion from Josh and a second from Debbie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So again, for the record, Councilmember Pogue has a declared conflict of interest and is disqualified from participating in any matter before Town Council concerning residential metropolitan districts, which includes consent agenda items D1 through D6 and D8. Cheryl, I'm going to ask that you turn off your camera and your microphone, and we'll text you when you can pop back on. Okay. So council, I would entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items D1 through D6 and D8.
So moved. Rivera.
Second, Debbie.
We have a motion from Josh and a second from Debbie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with 5 yes votes, with Cheryl not voting because of her conflict of interest. All right, so if we can let Cheryl know that she can pop back on. I don't know if she logged off completely or if she just turned her stuff off.
I can see that she's still
Oh,
here.
there she is. Okay. She wasn't showing on my screen and she just popped back up.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to go through mayor and council items, reports from mayor and council. We'll go through our normal order. Actually, I'll do it. We'll do the order backwards so Josh doesn't, doesn't feel like he's put on the spot all of a sudden all the time. So John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Largely my two external board positions, Dr. Cog and E470. We talked about the events related to them regarding this COVID experience that all of us are weathering through. I also talked about the bond refunding at E470. So that Councilmember Rivera and myself, we had a Public Works liaison meeting here before. And we just got updated on the projects that the town of Parker is about to proceed here in the next 4 years or so.
Okay. Thank you very much. Debbie?
Both of my meetings were canceled to be rescheduled for a cultural liaison as well as Parks and Recs liaison.
Okay.
So
Renee?
I got nothing other than I'm healthy.
That's a good one. Renee?
The High Needs Work Group with Douglas County has been meeting virtually now every Tuesday and Friday morning, and we're just ensuring that individuals with high needs that live within Douglas County have the supports that they need through these trying times. That's it.
Okay. Jeff?
Here, the Parks and Recreation liaison meeting that Councilmember Lewis just mentioned was canceled. However, residents can find updates in the Talk of the Town that went out electronically that we were briefed on earlier this morning. And I just want to say I'm sure I joined the other 54,000 residents of Parker in saying I hope that we reopen soon, get our restaurants opened, and get this thing behind us. I think it's important, and I know we're all supportive of our local business. So thanks for everything you're doing.
Okay. Cheryl?
Yeah, I was at the Douglas County Housing Authority meeting, and a good portion of that discussion was talking about a new IGA and some updates that they want to make. The other one was community development, which we got an update on. And also, we also interviewed candidates for the alternate positions for the Planning Commission.
Okay. Josh?
Second what Councilwoman Pogue said, some great interviews, again, some qualified individuals going out for Planning Commission. Very excited to see where that goes. Always very encouraged by our extensive volunteer base. Just very lucky for the citizens we have in this town.
Okay. And then for me, I continue to have my weekly meetings with both the Metro Mayors, well, not both, there's a lot of them, Metro Mayors Caucus, which is the 42 mayors in the metro area, Douglas County. We have a Metro Mayors meeting with the governor every week as well. We also have a Metro Mayors meeting with the mayor of Denver as well. And then I usually have one or two federal delegation meetings go over. As you can imagine, it's all about COVID. I'm just waiting for one of them to start talking about the killer wasps or hornets or whatever it is that are now also supposed to be invading all of us. I don't know. So I'm kind of at my limit of pandemics and things for us all to be scared about. But the good news is, as you guys all are aware, Colorado as a whole has significantly lower numbers across the board than other states, and Douglas County, as you guys also know, has significantly lower numbers than the rest of Colorado, which is good in terms of us being able to open up and so on. So I know we talked about that last week, so I'm not going to go back into that. So we'll go ahead and go forward with next item, which is item 7. These are our public hearings. Council, the first item, which is item 7A, ordinance number 1.539.2 on second reading. I will need a motion to continue this item to a date certain of May 18th, 2020.
Renee,
So moved.
We have a motion from Renee and
I'll
a second
second.
from Debbie.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, next item up on your agenda is item 7B. This is ordinance number 3.354 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance rezoning certain property within the town of Parker, Colorado, known as the Lot 2 Mark 6 Business Subdivision property from C Commercial District to LI Light Industrial District pursuant to the Town of Parker Land Development Ordinance and amending the zoning ordinance and zoning map to conform therewith. Brianna, are you on? Let's. Oh, yep, there you are, right in the center of my screen. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Perfect. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Town Council. This is a proposal to rezone Lot 2 of the Mark 6 Business Subdivision. Next slide, please. The applicant, John Kopaz, is proposing to rezone the property located at 18800 Clark Road from C Commercial to LI Light Industrial in order to align with the master plan. The subject property is located on the south side of Clark Drive and east of Dransfeld Road. The existing building on the property provides flex space with roll-up doors to the rear axis of the building, which typically is found in light industrial uses. Next slide, please. This property was annexed and zoned commercial as part of the town's original incorporation in 1981. Since 1981, the town's commercial land use designation has been amended to remove some light industrial uses that were determined to be not compatible in commercial areas of town. The Mark 6 business subdivision is predominantly light industrial in nature. The two lots immediately adjacent to the east of this lot within the Mark 6 business subdivision have previously been rezoned to light industrial to align with the building construction and character of the area. The Parker 2035 master plan shows these properties located in the light industrial character area. The proposed rezoning will allow for limited light industrial uses by right on this property, which aligns with the master plan. Next slide, please. There are 9 criteria used to evaluate a rezoning application. These criteria ensure that the uses will be consistent with the surrounding area, will not result in overuse of the land, create traffic congestion, or be detrimental to the town. Next slide, please. Staff has reviewed the proposal and, as outlined in staff's report, has determined that the project is consistent with the master plan. The project satisfies the 9 criteria required in the land development ordinance for a rezone, and the public notice requirements have been met. Planning Commission heard this case on April 9th of this year and recommended approval. Therefore, Planning Commission and staff recommend that Town Council approve the request to rezone Lot 2 of the Mark 6 business subdivision to light industrial as outlined in staff's report. Staff is available for any questions that council members may have, and I believe the applicant is also available tonight.
Wonderful. Brianna, thank you very much for your presentation. Before we switch over to the applicant, council, do you have any questions for Brianna on this item before we go to the applicant? I don't see, and you can use the raise hand feature if you want, and I don't see any. So let me switch over, and I'm going to take Mr. Kopaz and see if, actually, you know what's weird? Tom, it looks like for some reason I got kicked off as the host, and you're the host. So you're gonna have to promote Brett Kopaz. There we go. I don't know how I got kicked off, but that's kind of funny. So Brett, the floor is yours. You're muted, so I think you'll have to unmute yourself because I can't. There we go. So on my sheet, I have John Kopaz, but you're on the screen, it says Brett Kopaz.
Yeah, because I ended up away from the office and using his phone. That's my son. So
all right, there you go, John. The floor is yours.
Well, I think this property it was kind of in the wrong zoning from the get-go, and we battled it for the last 15, 20 years with some businesses wanting to get in there. So I think the proper zoning is light industrial. And again, I think the town is right alongside with that thought process also. So that's what we would like to do.
Excellent. Council, do you have any questions for John?
I just have a comment.
Go ahead, Debbie.
I'm glad to see that John and I are still on this side of the dirt.
Ah.
Well, it's so nice Nice to see you, Debbie. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has.
All right. Any other questions for John? Okay, seeing none. John, thank you very much. Council, I would entertain any further discussion or a motion on this item.
I move to approve ordinance number 3.354 on second reading.
Second, Rivera.
We have a motion from Debbie and a second from Josh. Council, please unmute yourself and vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Next item up is item number 8. And we're going to start with 8A, and this is ordinance number 8.20.5 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance to amend chapter 4.07 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning development excise tax. Kristen, you're going to lead us on this.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, so last year in July, Town Council adopted an ordinance to add a new chapter 4.11 to the Parker Municipal Code. That set up impact fees in the town of Parker, and included as part of that chapter were provisions for impact fee credits, including credits for regional recreational trails and facilities. At the same time, Council also adopted an ordinance which would repeal that chapter if the voters approved an increase in the development excise tax at the November election. The Parker electors did approve that increase in the excise tax, and as a result of the way we had set up the ordinances, the impact fee chapter was repealed. So what this ordinance does before you this evening is it amends chapter 4.07, which is the excise tax chapter in our municipal code, to provide for a credit for regional recreational trails and facilities. It's almost identical to the provisions we had in the credits for impact fees. We did revise 2 of the definitions to more closely align with the type of regional recreational facilities and trails that would be eligible for a credit under this ordinance.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions for Kristen? Okay, I don't see any there, so we're
Yes,
going to, Cheryl,
I
sorry,
did raise my
Cheryl.
hand.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cheryl. Go ahead, ask your question.
Okay, so my question is, we're going to give a credit for excise taxes on portions of what's paid based on what they're developing. The question I have is, where does that credit go? Does it go back to the developer, or does it go to the Metro District that's actually funding the funds for development?
It goes back to the taxpayer. So generally that is going to be the builders that come in and pull the building permits. They pay the taxes at the time that they arrive at the building permit counter. And so the credit would basically be deducted from the amount of the building permit, which includes the excise tax.
So I'm wondering if that credit is going back to the right entity. That's my question.
Well, there might be a private agreement between the builders and the developer and other entities that we would not know about how they're going to allocate those credits and whether they flow back down to the entity that's actually, installing those public improvements. But the town would not be a party to that agreement.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions, council? Okay, we will go ahead and open it up for public comment. I see we have 3 attendees. We have Brandy R, Bryce, and Pine Curve Pete. If any of those 3 wish to have public comment, go ahead and click the raise your hand and we can take that. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go back for further discussion or a motion on this item.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move to approve ordinance number 8.20.5 on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion from Jeff and a second from Debbie. I think that was from Debbie. Go ahead and unmute everybody. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is item number 8B. This is ordinance number 1.352.2 on second reading. This is a bill for an ordinance affirming the passage of emergency ordinance number 1.352.1, series of 2020, a bill for an emergency ordinance to amend section 2.01.070 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning emergency meetings. Kristen.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Yes, the section of the municipal code that the mayor just announced authorizes the town council to hold town council meetings by telephone, electronically, or other means when meeting in person is not prudent due to a health pandemic, such as the one we're in. It does not provide the same authority to the Planning Commission or Special Licensing Authority, and so the purpose of this ordinance is to extend the authority contained in that section to those commissions and authorities. This was originally passed as an emergency ordinance back in March, and pursuant to Chapter 7.6 of the Town Charter, it cannot be in effect longer than 90 days unless the council by a subsequent ordinance affirms it. So that's what we're doing this evening.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions for Kristen? Okay, I don't see any hands on there, so we will go ahead and go to public comment. We have our 3 attendees that are still here: Brandy R., Bryce Matthews, and Pine Curve Pete. If any of you have any public comment, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any, so we're going to go ahead and go back and close public comment at 7:22, and I would entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I do
Can I
have
ask
a
a
question.
question before we move? How long do we expect to be under emergency orders, given the current situation in Douglas County with our low rates? And maybe Mayor, the town administrator, can address this, but how long do we expect to be under emergency orders?
Okay, Michelle?
So we'll be monitoring with what the governor comes out with in the next couple of weeks at the expiration of the state safer at home orders on the 26th. We're still doing weekly, if not more frequent, calls with Tri-County Health and the governor's office. And so we're still assessing that. We are working on a reopening plan for staff and the public to town hall and to our other facilities. With the current safer at home orders, we've got the 50% that's in play in terms of 50% of our staff in the buildings, as well as the 50 people period of employees so that we don't have to do temperature testing. And then we're still under the 10. So we're monitoring it weekly to find out what's happening. But meanwhile, all the departments are working on their reopening plans and looking, because for each department, each facility, it's different, certainly between recreation facilities and town hall facilities.
Yeah. And Mr. Mayor, if I can, I just want to commend our town administrator on the excellent work she's doing in walking us through daily and hourly sometimes of this pandemic. I appreciate you, Michelle, so much. Mayor, we've got to get this town open again. There's no question we've got to get this town open again.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff, I don't think there's a single person on council who doesn't agree with you on that. So I think that's a statement that every single one of them, and myself included, would share for sure.
And I would hope they'd be making that publicly as well.
Yes, Cheryl, your hand is up.
I do. I would support Jeff's position wholeheartedly. But the other question I have is, we enacted this for 90 days from in March. This one that is extending it another 90 days, is that really what we want to do?
Kristen, could you go ahead and?
It's actually putting it permanently into the code. It's not extending it another 90 days.
So it's picking up from where it was in March.
Correct.
Okay.
So it will, yes, if it's affirmed tonight, then it's been in effect through March, and it will stay in the code until you repeal it or amend it at some future date.
Yeah, I was just questioning whether or not we were adding another 90 days to the process.
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 1.352.2 on second reading.
Second.
We have a
Renee
motion from
seconds.
Josh and we have a second from Debbie. Council, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. With that and no further business before our public meeting, we're going to go ahead and recess and then reconvene our executive session. So we're going to recess at 7:25 p.m. And in 5 minutes, we'll reconvene our executive session on the other program. So good evening, everybody. Wash your hands.